Are you making these simple mistakes that are holding you back? Even I think the most experienced learners are guilty of them. These are the common mistakes I think a lot of people, a lot of learners, whatever language you're learning at the moment, English, French, Spanish, Turkey, whatever language. I think these are the quite repetitive mistakes a lot of people they do when it comes to like in language learning. However, in today's video, I just want to kind of participate. So I want to reveal with you these game-changing tips and of course how to fix these pitfalls, okay? And I think these are the pitfalls a lot of people, you might probably be you might probably be one of them, which are practicing these pitfalls and hopefully how to overcome them. I'll reveal with you these common errors, these common mistakes that you might probably be making all of the time and how to overcome them, how to avoid them from day-to-day life. And if you want to speak more fluently, you want to speak more confidently, you stay tuned because these tips will make a huge difference. These tips will make a huge impact on your language learning journey. Before I get started, please, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. And even if you haven't hit the subscribe button or you didn't actually click the notification bell, please do make sure that you click the notification bell so you don't miss any weekly videos or even podcasts. So now let's get it started. So now, first of all, one of these common errors that you might probably be making is lack of effective practice techniques. Lack of effective practice techniques. So what do I mean by a lack of effective practice techniques? You do not practicing in the way that require to practice effectively. Because there are two types of practice, like you can practice a language, whatever, in two different ways. Passive practice and active practice or active recall. Passive practice is all about listening to podcasts or watching TV shows or even reading in the target language. But you know what? I think it's not enough, which I think is very important part of a learning language. And I think relying too much on these kind of part is not enough for many different reasons, because it allows you to consume the language rather than practicing it effectively. How you think that, for example, because a lot of people, they might probably be watching TV shows because it's an active practice, and of course you're learning new things from like watching people talking. It could be vocabulary, pronunciation, or even to improve your comprehension, but that's not enough. And I think even like passive practice, I think is very important part, but like it doesn't require you to actively retrieve or use it effectively. However, an active practice or even active recall, such as speaking, writing, or even answering questions, or even writing daily diaries, voice recordings, or yourself speaking on random topics. This will help you to reinforce vocabulary, sentence structure, pronunciation, or even pronunciation errors, which you need to work on them in order to strengthen your ability to produce the language when it's needed. In like crucial skills, or even real life conversations. And I think ultimately, passive practice builds a foundation. I think it's a very important part, but do make sure that you don't rely too much on it, because you need to build a foundation or of formality, but active practice transforms the foundation into practical language skills. So do be aware of that and make sure that you practicing them like simultaneously, not to rely too much on one part. So, and the second error, which I think you might probably be making, is fear of making mistakes or lack of confidence. So a fear of making mistakes or lack of confidence, like overcoming the fear of making mistakes while learning a new language, I think is the biggest steps. And if you just intimidate from talking to people, because your pronunciation is not it's not perfect, because you don't have to be great. You have to start to be great. Everyone starts somewhere. So just embrace it. It's a part of a learning journey, or is an opportunity to you to learn from them. And even if you make mistakes, is a chance, is an opportunity to learn from them. So focus on fluency over accuracy. And what I mean is just, if you need to prioritize your communication skills, and like how to deliver the message. I mean, it's important that you focus on prioritize your communication skills, and how you can deliver the message is important, rather than just focusing on effectively. If you just like, let's say for example you have something to say to a group of people, and you think that my pronunciation is not good enough, how on earth am I going to deliver that message? It's not important, because what's important is a message. Okay, so just embrace it, because no one is perfect, and even native speakers, they do make mistakes all of the time, from time to time, and over time you will build your confidence, and your fear, your intimidation will gradually disappear, because confidence is all about taking action. The more you take action, even if you are not perfect, if you are not like speaking English quite effectively, your pronunciation is terrible, so you will get there, because it's all about practice, and it's all about taking action. And I think to overcome this fear, you need to take action by talking to people from day-to-day life, which is very, very important in your English learning, or whatever language you want to learn. It's all about taking action. Well, number 3, one of these common pitfalls which you are probably making, not focusing on 4 language skills. So now a lot of people, they might practicing to effectively focus on the language skills when you are learning a language. I think in terms of listening, speaking, or reading, or even writing, it's essential part of learning strategy. And to create a balanced study plan, it's important that you practice them simultaneously. Balance them. So now, for example, listening, why is important? I mean, why is it essential? To improve your comprehension, your pronunciation, and even to expose expose you to real worlds. So if you are not practicing listening, please do make sure that you practice listening. And of course, the other part of the language skills. I mean, like how to practice effectively. Like for example, listening, I might probably suggest to listen to podcasts, audio materials, and take notes while you're listening. Even watch videos or movies with subtitles, and focus on picking up new words, expressions, and even accents, whatever accent you are focusing on at the moment. A passive listening, so for example, if you play English content in the background during your daily activities, for example, let's say you are cooking, let's say if you're cooking and you like listen to podcasts, music, so use repetition to reinforce your understanding by listening to the same material multiple times, because the repetition is the key to improve your pronunciation. Interactive listening. So use apps like italki, Tandem, or even like Hello Talk for live conversations. And I think these are the very, very important websites. If you haven't heard of it, or you don't know anything about it, I'll put the link in the show notes. I'll put the link in the description below, so hopefully you'll be able to get access to them. And even one of these English skills we have is speaking. Why is it essential? If you speaking to people, it's very essential, it's very important, it's very quintessential, because it builds your confidence and fluency, and turning to a passive knowledge into active use. How to practice effectively, I might suggest that you find a partner, okay? Find a language partner or tutor online. For example, let's say you can use Cambly or you can use Hello Talk. These are the platforms, or even Free for Talk, to find a partner if you are living in a non-English country and you want to talk to people, you want to practice your speaking. I highly recommend that you use these apps. I'll put the link in the show note or in the description below, so please do make sure that you take these apps and practice your speaking. For example, listening to audio. If you listen to audio, the speaker word focus on pronunciation and the tone, and of course rhythm at the same time. Listen to audio and mimic the speaker word by word. Focus on your pronunciation, like syllableless race. Okay. Talk to yourself sometimes and in front of the mirror and record yourself. Describing your day, use of voice assistants like Siri, Google Practice. I think all of these tips, I think it will definitely help you to get where you want to be. And what about reading? Why is it essential? To expand your vocabulary, enhance your comprehension, and to build some sentence structure. So all of these are very, very important places to get you started. And if you are not focusing on all of these skills, I think it's not going to help you to get improved, and you will stay in the same place. So join book clubs and discussions and talk to people, and reading, I think is very, very important. And even write. What about writing? What I highly suggest is helps you to solidify the grammar, expand your vocabulary, and even your spelling, and how to practice effectively. Daily writing in particular. For example, if you don't know what to write, just write one of your journals, diaries, whatever. Your thoughts about daily activities, feelings, to structure your practice. Even write essays, stories, summarize. There's loads and loads of things that you might probably not know how to do that, but these are the very important ways that you might probably practice effectively. Creating all of these balance, practice, routine, and the combination of these skills, I think is very, very important in real world scenarios. So you can make a consistent, meaningful progress. And remember, language learning is a journey and consistent effort. Okay, so these will all help you to become a confident and proficient communicator. And I think number 4 is relying too much on translations or interpretations. So now many people they rely too much on interpretations, which I think is not. It's not too bad, but if you just relying too much on translations, imagine now if you are in the middle of a conversation in the new language that you are learning at the moment, and mentally translating every single word. It seems frustrating actually, and it makes you feel disconnected from a conversation, right? So now when your brain is sick, okay, in your native language, because this means you are not thinking in the new language, which is crucial for fluency. So language doesn't work that way. Translating word by word or word for word might leave you saying things that sounds unnatural, even confusing your listener. So now think about this. In English, we say it's raining cats and dogs. But let's say if you put this in translator, Google Translator, that literally into another language, let's say your language is Spanish, French, Arabic, or whatever language your native language is, it will not came up the same meaning. And people might wonder if you're joking. So make sure that you don't translate, or I mean, it's okay to translate, but don't rely too much on translation. It's not, you know, it's not an effective way to practice. When you are busy translating, it takes you longer, like to form your thoughts. This is only make you slower, but also disrupts the flow of conversation and makes you less confident. So now, how to overcome? So now, like how to overcome these kind of obstacle? Okay, use context and visual. Like instead of translating, try connecting words to images, actions, or real life objects. For example, when you are like learning a new words like apple, okay, like apple, think of like a fruit itself, okay. That will help you to think in the language, not its translation, okay, in your native language. This helps you to actually, this helps your brain to direct connection with the words or without even translating into your native language. So now you start thinking in the language and make habits of thinking in the language. You start small, like I'm hungry. If you struggle, and where's my phone, for example, as well. This will help you to train your brain, and of course, to not rely too much on interpretations. You start connections directly with the language. So immerse yourself in the language and surround yourself with the real world language through the movies, podcasts, or even books. Or even if you don't understand everything, focus on the context. This will help you to pick up phrases naturally without without the need of translation or interpretations, because it's not worth it. So now paraphrase instead of translating. When you don't know the word, describe it instead of searching it in your own or in your native language. Explain the concept. For example, if you don't know the word bicycle, you can say it's something that rides with two wheels. This pushes your brain to work more effectively and more creatively in the language. And practice speaking regularly. Engage in conversations as much as you can. And it's okay to make mistakes. The goal is to practice, and of course, I think practice thinking is a spot in the language. The more you speak, the less you rely on translations or interpretations. So now here is like the challenge, simple challenge for you today. Try to describe your day in the language you're learning, even if you just write in a few sentences. It's a powerful way to break the translation habit and to rely on it and how to avoid it. And I mean, just do let me know in the comments, what sentence are you trying to write about your day? Let me know in the comments. And how often do you find yourself translating in your head? Share your thoughts in the comments and let me know in the conversations. Let me know conversation going. So now, language learning or learning a language is about more than just finding the right words. It's about creating new ways of thinking or even connecting with the whole new world. So you stop translating from now and you start thinking in the language. Your fluency, well, thank you. I think it's just very important that you don't rely too much on translation. You might need to rely on it about 20% and 80% without it. That's it. So now, number 5 is one of these kind of errors is a lack of consistent and persistent practice. Lack of consistent and persistent practice is one of the most common barriers, one of the most common obstacles, to language learning without a regular practice. It's easy to forget like vocabulary, grammar, rules. Let's say, for example, if you haven't practiced for, let's say, 2 weeks or even, let's say, a month, you are definitely going to forget. Let's say probably about not many, but you're going to forget about few words, phrases, even pronunciation patterns, which will hinders your progress language. Okay, so a language skill also now needs reinforcement over time to move from short-term memory into long-term memory. Here's why consistency is so important. I think consistency is important because it's help you to kind of solidify what you learn and prevent forgetting. Small daily efforts often is better to better results and than kind of occasional intense study sessions. I think the more practice, the more you practice, the more confident you will become. When you kind of learn new words, new challenges, or unfamiliar with these situations, having practice regularly gives you tools to navigate them on how you can practice them from day-to-day life. And I think fluent need to develop automatically in the language, which means this is using the language naturally without need to pause or think consistently. Practice helps you build the automaticity, and I think progress tracking by practice regular, you can track your progress and make adjustments to your study plan if needed. This boosts your motivation, and of course, as you can kind of improve along the way. So now I think a lack of consistent practice and persistence. Consider sitting in a routine, for example. If you sit there for just a few minutes each day, techniques like this is paid repetition, using the language apps, finding real world opportunities, talking to people, listening to podcasts with the language can help you maintain your momentum on learning a language and you say track on your language learning progress. So now I think even lack of consistent and persistent practice can significantly hinder your progress in mastering any skill in life, including learning a language or whatever. If it's not about occasional effort, but it's rather about developing a routine that keeps you engaged and continually improving. And I think all I want to say is just to say dedicate and practice regularly. Remember that even small things don't consistently produce big results over time. If you practice, let's say, 15 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, that's enough. But don't take long break. That is not going to help. So, and number 6, the final one, is insufficient focus on an accent training or pronunciation. So now let's say, for example, if you are not insufficient on your pronunciation accent training, you might want to consider integrating more targeted exercise and content into your routine to help you improve your pronunciation and work on your accent training. Let's say, for example, if you struggle with with the small kind of sounds, what I would highly suggest you need to practice them separately. So now let's say for example minimal purse. So practice a minimal purse. If you haven't heard of it, I think a minimal purse, these are the words that have a differ. They're very different in sounds. Practicing them can help you to differentiate between similar sounds and improve accuracy. For example, in a word like think and this, think, this, okay? Cut, coat, cat, cot or coat. Sheep, ship, sheep, ship. Exercising all of these kind of different sounds and combination of different resources can help you kind of paying attention on the different sounds, and of course shadowing the native speakers at the same time. If you are listening to a podcast, shadowing techniques where you listen to a native speaker and try to repeat after them and exactly what you hear, matching their pronunciation, intonation, rhythm, and exercise. Choose a video or even audio from a native British English speaker, for example BBC News or even podcasts. pause after every kind of sentence, even if you don't understand the pronunciation. I think this is a very important part that you need to focus on. So the purpose of listening to podcasts is not only about picking up different vocabulary, it's about improving your pronunciation at the same time. So make sure that you pay attention closely. And what I highly recommend as well, do make sure that when you are practicing your pronunciation, make sure that you practice IPA. And IPA, these are the International Phonetic Alphabet. Using symbols, I think, is very important. It can help you to understand how like sounds are produced in British English. Each symbol represents distinct sound. For example, let's say if you pick up a list of common English sounds on their IPAs representations, practice by reading sentence or word written in IPA to get feel for the sounds, because I think these are the mistakes that a lot of people they do in terms of pronunciation. You need to learn through the IPA, because IPA will help you to kind of learn like the sounds, and it's very important because IPA is there for you to learn the pronunciation, not to just learn the words. So pronunciation apps, like you can use pronunciation apps. So there are several apps, websites, and even like offer the accent training and pronunciation practices. I mean, listen to native speakers, and I think make sure that you just copy after them the way they pronounce, and make sure that you practice IPA all of the time. So, and now record yourself reading after you just kind of pronounce the words, and if you found there's a difference, compare them, your pronunciation with the speaker, the person that you've listened to, in more details, and make sure that you make a constant articulation for your pronunciation or intonation in general. So that's really going to help. And the final tip which I want to talk about is to practice like tongue twisters. Tongue twisters are the game changer. So now a tongue twisters, these will help you improve your fluency and articulation. And of course, one of the most important things that I think is very important at the same time, especially they're useful in terms of like mastering pronunciation, I think is the tricky sounds, schwa sounds, sounds, and all of these sounds. These are the very important sounds you need to practice, you need to master. So now, for example, let's say a tongue twister where you learn TH sounds in British English or even in English in general. For example, let's say the 33 thieves thought that they thrilled the throne throughout the Thursday. The 33 thieves thought that they thrilled the throne throughout the Thursday. It's very important because it doesn't matter how you practice. What's matter is that you master the sound, that you master the pronunciation tip. So exercise, pick your tongue twister and practice it slowly. So now you know that, so now you are aware of these top mistakes that might holding you back. I mean, it's time to just take action and make these changes a part of your daily practice. Remember to take action, and it's time, of course, to make a lot of adjustments in your fluency. And even if you're you've been learning for a very long time, I think it's time to get started. It's time to avoid these common mistakes, these common errors, and to avoid repeating the same patterns of mistakes from time to time. So now, if you enjoyed this video, you like what you saw today, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and subscribe to the channel for more English tips and how you can improve your English. And share this video with your friends, and even for those who are interested in kind of learning British English and pronunciation.